Hello once again, everyone, and welcome to Cruisenix Purgatory. It has been a long and winding road. I busted my hide with getting 4 different rolls to level 80. And we've been on a huge journey. It's amazing how much we've learned, and it was just, we learned so much about the Warriors of Light of the First. It's I honestly don't know what to say. But let's recap. In these last 4 quest lines, we met with Grandson, a knight who was seeking revenge for his lost lover. We did that as Dark Knight, of course, but Grandson eventually learned that revenge wasn't the way to do it, and really it was better to just let go. And you know what? He was all the stronger for it. We also learned the tale of Brandon, a knight who served his lady liege faithfully until his dying day, who learned somewhat the same lesson. As a bard, we did the physical DPS quest. With that one, we met with sorry, I'm trying to just remember here. We met with Lurik, who was in search of a partner to help him slay... Well... To help him slay, who was it? I'm trying to find the names here, I'm sorry. Andrea, there it is. Little did we know, of course, Lurik was as entitled as they all come. But he eventually learned that he learned his own strengths. In the meantime, we learned the tale of Renda Ray, a famed hunter in her own right, who was dealing with the loss of her fellow hunters at the hands of Balam Keeps. Of course, she couldn't do it alone, but she eventually did get her revenge, but it wasn't by herself. Moving on. As a black mage, we met with Serig, who was hunting... Who is he hunting down again? I forget. Sorry, I gotta go back to all of these. He was on the hunt for Phronesis. It was during this time where he met the young lad known as Tainor, who happened to know of Phronesis' true self, that of the Warrior of Light, Nielbert. And of course we learned of Nielbert's tale, of his quest to actually retrieve Tainor back from the void, and ultimately his sacrifice. And finally, as a white mage, we met with Giat, who was after the dwarf known as Sulfurosine, otherwise known as Lamit. Though Giat only knew little about the Warrior of Light herself. But, of course, we learned of that tale, the tale of Lamit and her ultimate sacrifice of traditions and self in order to save the people she cared about the most. But there is one thing that doesn't sit still with me. Really, what was it all for? And I think we've all seen it. We've all seen it throughout the times that we've gone through the quest line. But let's not waste any more time and get right down to the final chapter in the Roll quest lines. And in order to do that, we're going to complete the level 80 quest, Shadow Walk With Me. Well, if it isn't the Grand Eight Hunter himself. As if you don't know. All four of the Cardinal Virtues laid low, all with your help. You're the talk of the stairs, Chris. When the night returned to Lakeland, we knew in our hearts that change was on the horizon. But never did I dare hope that you might help us rid us of those terrible fiends. You've surpassed my wildest expectations.
Not mine, Glynard. Aye, when I first laid eyes on him, I had an inkling that he was the hero we'd been waiting to come along.
Ha! Easy to claim after the fact. If you'd indulge me, though, I would love to hear you tell how it all played out. The hunting of the virtues, that is. Yeah, sure, I'll tell you everything. Of course, we'll skip ahead a little bit of time. My word. There's so much more to it than I realized. And there I thought you'd only had to track down the bloody things. Gods, though. The things you learned about the Warriors of Light. So many secrets and details lost over time. And for all their hard work and sacrifice, they somehow brought about the flood? Can't say I understand it all, but it's a bloody tragedy it is. We should gather the others and toast their memories. Heroes of Eld, brave and true, to be remembered forevermore.
Now, I'll thank you not to let your bleeding heart drive you to offer up a fortnight's stock of spirits. Attend to your other customers and let me speak with the hero of here and now.
Whatever would I do without your good sense and wisdom? Very well, I'll leave you to entertain him. But don't think we won't be having a drink someday.
Chris, I must thank you for sharing with us such incredible tales. 'Tis only right that I repay you in kind.
How so?
With the ending, that is. With the story of the true villain who towers above the virtues. The devil more deserving of death than any that yet lingers in this world. If your curiosity has been piqued, then meet with me atop the balcony overlooking the crystalline mean. I'll be waiting there until you do.
Where's Cyella when I need her? Running off on a personal matter when we're busier than ever! Bah! Overlooking the crystalline mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. We definitely need to be able to ride mounts in here.
You came, as I knew you would. Never a mystery you could leave well enough alone, or a demon that you could let live, am I right? And this demon is undeniably deserving of death. Make no mistake, to cut them down would be just and proper. The act of a goodly person, and that is just what you are. I can see that. No need to grow impatient or be offended, my friend. But before you pass judgment on this villain, you need first understand their part in everything. Who they were to the fallen warriors of light, for instance. Of course, right now you must be wondering how I know what I know. What a tavern wench of all people has got to do with any of this. Let me tell you, I am the one who brought together the Virtue Hunters. I am the one who marked you as a potential ally to them and bade you join them in their quests. I alone knew what had to be done, and what sort of sinner would be needed to see this tale of tragedy and betrayal brought to an end. But come, we have many moms ahead of us still. To Colusia and the Codger's Crook. I will go on ahead and wait for you there.
Colusia, huh? The Codger's Crook. Why here of all places? Oh. Ciella's looking different. What? Wait a minute. What boots are those?
You are accustomed to life on the road, I see. As am I. Do you recognize this place? I thought you might. Here is where it began. Where Ardbert first met Lamit. Still young and lacking in experience, but possessed of so much potential. Heroes in the making. Even then, the keen-eyed could see. They would only fulfill that promise much later, though, after joining with their other dear companions, Brandon and Renda Ray. And one other, an elven woman, not half bad with the sword. Ah, but perhaps you are already asking the question, who? There were 5 warriors of light in all, but she would make 6. Indeed, after adding in Nyelbert, there does seem to be one too many. But believe me when I say there was indeed a 6th adventurer lost to history, and her name was Silva. Though I doubt I need convince you of this truth. When you walked in the Virtue's memories, you saw her time and time again, did you not? Then you saw the true villain, the traitor responsible for all their woes. Let us continue the story elsewhere. To Amareng and the Fields of Amber.
Alright, off to Amareng. Oh yeah, Mordsuk. Actually, before I even think of that. Oh, it's right in the middle. Okay, Mordsuk it is. Going up. It's a good thing I decided to get flying beforehand, because otherwise this would be a long trip.
You saw the true villain's face in their memories, and I told you her name in Colusia. But what were her crimes, you ask? Hearken to my tale and you will learn. Silva had joined the others before they first met Nielbert. After their party of 5 came to this place, they took on a commission to slay a powerful beast that had taken up residence in the mines. Said beast was believed to be the instigator of ever more terrible tremors, and so time was of the essence. But during their hurried search, they crossed paths with their future companion, then a competitor aiming to usurp their prize. After another tremor triggered by the beast trapped them all underground, they had no choice but to work together to lay it low. But to their dismay, even after its death, the earth continued to shudder violently. As the adventurers looked to each other in confusion, Nielbert strode towards the beast's body and grabbed hold of a curious stone. A stone brimming with untold ether that he had sought out that he might harness its potential to rescue a loved one lost to the rift. But so powerful was the stone that it warped the flow of the life stream. Its very existence was a threat. And so, when faced with the choice between one's life and countless others, Nielbert wept and shattered the stone. He had held his comrade's salvation in his hand and cast it aside for the greater good. For his sacrifice, he was judged a hero, and in that instant, a warrior of light was born. In life, Nielbert was a pragmatic figure, whose wisdom and sagacity were admired by all. Little wonder that in death he would retain this virtue. But as Nielbert mourned the friend he forever lost, the betrayer Silva looked on in silent contentment, for they had taken the first step on their path towards becoming heroes brave and true. His sacrifice had sparked the transformation. 'Twas fuel for the ritual to come. What ritual, you may wonder? Fear not. All will become clear in time. Come with me to Raktika, to the Setia swamps. We must retrace the steps as they were taken to understand the depth of her treachery.
Man, she is just leading us everywhere today. Alright. There we go.
This place too is familiar to you, no? From days recent and long since past? After the events in Amarang, Ardbert and his companions grew in fame, spurring others to entreat their aid. The adventurers sought out greater and greater challenges, and in pursuit of another, they came to Raktika. While there, the hunter Rendaray learned that the notorious mark, Balam Keats, was near. And so, under cover of darkness, she slipped away from the others to slay the beast herself. Like Nielbert before, of course, you already know what her motive was. Balam Keats had robbed her of her fellow hunters. Only vengeance would redress the balance. Moreover, she would not dare risk the lives of her new comrades. So terrified she was of the mere possibility that she might have to relive that terrible day. And so she faced Balam Keats alone, and would have surely died for it, had Ardbert and the others not arrived in time to help. Like Nielbert before, of course, you already know what happened next. For her love, her conviction, and her resolve was she chosen by Heidelin. And from that day forward, Rendaray swore never again to betray her comrades' trust, to share with them the triumphs and the tragedies, to relinquish the freedom she had once held in the highest. The bravest, most courageous hunter that ever was. That moment would define what she became in life, and in death. Her sacrifice would hasten the transformation. 'Twas fuel for the ritual to come. The betrayer Silva looked on, yet more satisfied. They were oblivious to her machinations, unaware that they were dancing to her tune. Their journeys continued, and so must ours, to Ilmeg and Liegia.
Alright. We'll go by way of Wollickdorf. Just so we're not flying halfway across the map. Here we are.
As beautiful now as it was then. You saw it too. Would you not agree? With the death of Balam Keats, the legend of Ardbert and his comrades had grown larger than ever. Thus emboldened, they came to the kingdom of Verbert. Verbert had long been troubled by what some had dubbed a magical plague. Innocents found transformed into misshapen fiends that the kingdom's knights had no choice but to put down ere the contagion spread. Brandon had been one such knight. In his youth he had served the Princess Saldia faithfully, only to be cast out for a single mistake. Thus did he take to the road, where he met Ardbert and the others. Having grown stronger and wiser and more respected, Brandon felt it was time to return and redeem himself. And with the aid of his comrades, he did just that. Todrick, the court mage, was unmasked as the mastermind of Verbert's misery, and by disgraced knight's blade was he brought to justice. But with his dying breath, Todrick cursed the Princess Saldia, sentencing her to a fate worse than death. At her behest did he raise up his blade, and for the sake of the kingdom, strike down his liege lady. With that single stroke he forever changed, though nearly not in the way that was necessary. He stood at the precipice, and almost forsook his compassion for unflinching judgment, but mercifully turned aside at the last. Thus did he find and embrace true justice, that which weighs law and heart together, and strives for the greater good. 'Tis a long difficult road from which many stray, settling for simpler moralities. But I would expect no less of the man who became Dikaiosign. His sacrifice would strengthen this transformation. 'Twas fuel for the ritual to come. As her companions grew ever more powerful, so too did the betrayer Silva. Bit by bit, they brought her closer to her goal. But it was not yet finished. To Colusia they returned, and so must we. Tomra and the next chapter of our tale await. Alright, to the village of Tomra. Oh, why is she standing here? Slowly but surely, the adventurers were fulfilling their potential. Word of their deeds in Verbert spread like wildfire, and their legend grew ever larger. But for all their success, the fledgling heroes would be forced to endure more hardship and welcome more sacrifice. They pressed deeper into the depths of Raktika, towards ancient Ronka. 'Twas there that the dwarf Lamit came to a crossroads. For in claiming the magic she desperately desired, she would be forced to renounce something equally precious. Dwarves are a reclusive lot, wont to withdraw from the outside world that their many traditions might be preserved in isolation. When the stone blight began to spread, they chose to lock away the afflicted and refused to seek outside help. But Lamit would not abide this. She vowed to save her ailing kin, her sister among them, even if it meant violating dwarven law. With her newfound power, she returned and cured the sick, and for this she was banished by the Council of Elders. This came as no surprise, for she had made her peace with it long before. When she stood in that ancient ruin and called upon forgotten guardians to grant her forbidden knowledge, she knew then what the price would be. She had weighed her traditions and identity against the lives of those she loved and made her choice, though it pained her terribly and in ways only a dwarf would understand. And Heidelin, it would seem. Through hardship and sacrifice was a new warrior of light forged, a healer that knew more than any the value of life, and would do anything to see it preserved, even in death. Her sacrifice would nearly complete the transformation. 'Twas fuel for the ritual to come. Very soon then. Very soon. For Arnbert and his comrades had stumbled upon evidence of the larger design, threads linking together the disparate troubles of the realm. A name spoken only in whispers, the Shadowkeeper. A singular force sowing chaos and discord through Norvrend to an unknown end. If the Warriors of Light truly wished to save their world, then they would need to confront this villain amongst villains. And at the end of their exhaustive search, at the end of their struggle, who do you think they found waiting to welcome them with open arms? The answer to that awaits us in Lakeland, our final destination. The villain yet walks among us, Chris, unknown and unpunished. Go on ahead and wait for me at Laxon Loft. There are preparations to which I must first attend.
Laxon Loft, where is that? Oh. Where he faced off against, what's his name the first time? Ranjit. I don't understand. Why Laxon Loft? The Hall of the Thrice Born. Why here?
What the...
Damn you, Silver! We were comrades in arms! Friends!
That we were, and that we are. Everything I said, everything I felt, it was all true. You mean the world to me.
You're the bloody Shadow Keeper! What in the hell was this for?
For you. For every one of you. To forge you into heroes worthy of her blessing. That she might choose you as her champions. A ruthless mage consumed by the pursuit of power to save his friend no matter the cost. By his sacrifice, a warrior born. A mournful hunter scarred by tragedy, resolved never again to trust in others. By her sacrifice, a warrior born. A disgraced knight who yearned to steal his heart in justice's name. By his sacrifice, a warrior born. A troubled healer torn between tradition and love. By her sacrifice, a warrior born. And their leader, an adventurer with a heart overflowing with love for his dearest comrades, who must now bring his axe to bear against his own. By his sacrifice, a warrior born. I am the villain you seek, the keeper of shadows from a world shrouded in dark. By our struggle will this world be shattered and its souls saved. Silver! You saw it all, did you? I thought you might. Mother's gift has a knack for showing us exactly what we need to see. If not what we want to, or when. They knew me as Silva, but my real name, it doesn't matter. Like you, I am not of this world. I crossed the rift and came to the first. My home, the 13th, fell to dark in a calamity that mirrored the one which nearly claimed this world. I was one of several heroes who failed to save it. The boy, Ononkalai. I have glimpsed him in your memories. He was a friend. Like him, I heeded the words of the Asians, and, that I might redress the balance, I chose to come here and hasten a rejoining of worlds. A shard subsumed by dark demands a mirror of blinding light. Primordial forces will strive to achieve equilibrium. But there was a solution. A single solution, I believed. Were a flood of light to consume this shard in its entirety, it would be of no use. The Asians made it clear it must be brought to the brink, but no further. The task was difficult, but the plan simple. Souls predisposed to light, fledgling heroes in the making. I would bring together Ardbert and his comrades, and groom them for a higher purpose. I would play the part of comrade and guide their course, all the while laboring in secret to pit stronger and stronger enemies against them, until finally, once they were warriors of light, brave and true, I would reveal myself as a warrior of darkness and extinguish their radiance forever. Thus would this world be primed for a rejoining, and the source for a calamity. The Ascians who called themselves Mitron and Logrif were confident it would succeed. And indeed, Oddbird and the others rose to the occasion, as I knew they would. It was not to be. I had misjudged Oddbird. His comrades before him had made their sacrifices in turn, and as their mirror I had grown stronger for it. Had he but embraced his role and struck me down, victory would have been mine. But Oddbird, dear Oddbird, would not forsake his heart. In the end, he chose mercy. He chose love. And I was undone. The rest you know. He sought out Mitron and Logrif, and granted them what he refused me. They accomplished everything they set out to achieve, and then the flood came and washed it away. In the wake of my betrayal, I would look on from the shadows, and reflect on my many sins as all fell to ruin. Deny death then and now, and perhaps ever after, as a fragment of my essence endures. But then, one day years ago, my fallen comrades rose again as the Cardinal Virtues. It coincided with the arrival of the first Scions, I later realized. A defense against the forces being marshaled to undo my failure. I can but assume the Ascians planted the idea in Vothri's head. They were his creations, after all. And with their graves in Ulmoran territory, it was doubtless a simple matter to have their bodies exhumed and prepared. Who am I to speak, you may think, when I say this, but when I saw these abominations he had wrought in their image, I was filled with such despair, such anger. I cannot unwrite the past. My soul is stained with blackest sin, and I will not pretend that it can ever be otherwise. But this act, this I could not ignore. If the Ascians were going to such lengths, then surely others would cross the rift in due time. And so I hatched a plan. I would assume the guise of Cyella, and as her take up residence in the Crystarium, where I would take measures to bring together the most ambitious of adventurers, individuals driven by more than mere coin, virtue hunters. That day, when the enemy the Ascians feared more than any came to the first, the stage would be set. They would join in the hunter's quest, and together unmake Vothri's simulacra, and lay their souls to rest once more. And so you did, Chris. The Virtues are no more. But the one ultimately responsible for their creation, the devil who set them on their doomed path, lingers still. You know all there is to know of the heroes who saved this world. The truth I kept hidden in the shadows is yours, and there are no more secrets to share. And so I ask you now to grant me that which Oddbird could not. Death.
You still have a duty to others.
No! Don't do this! Don't you spare me like he did! How can you stand there and say I deserve to live? Knowing everything I did, the lives I destroyed, the chaos I wrought! The Warden's pale in comparison. Surely there is no greater villain than the Shadowkeeper!
Which is why you must atone. Which is why you must live to atone for your deeds.
I should have expected a hero would say something like that. How does one even seek atonement? 'Tis an undiscovered country, with no charts or stars to guide. How will I even know when I find it? Perhaps I may yet find purpose in preserving my comrade's legacy, in helping others to understand the sacrifices that made them true heroes. For now, I shall return to the Crystarium and continue to assist Glynard, while spreading the forgotten tales of the Warriors of Light. You would have been good friends, you and Ardbert, in another life. Maybe you and I as well.
Alright. Let's return to the Crystarium. Alright. Back to the pendants. Well, there's Glynard. I'm sure he's happy to have Cyella back. I see Cyella finally returned. She seems a bit more... how should I put it? At ease? You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you? I'm gonna switch over to my Shadowbringer, just because.
I tell you, I am not at all accustomed to wearing armor any longer. Simply moving about in it is enough to task my strength. And fighting? Ugh. Any one of Captain Lena's recruits would probably put me flat on my back. Fortunately, I needn't rely on my sword to spread the truth of my fallen comrades' deeds. Only words and the passage of time will see their legacy redeemed in the eyes of the people. Thank you for accompanying me on my journey of remembrance, Chris. May your deeds ever be remembered and celebrated, as all heroes deserve.
And with that, we finally completed the Tales of the Warriors of Light of the First. With it, we've earned the achievement Tales to be Told, which gives us the title Living Memory. And I think that was all we get out of it. But yep, the Tales of the Warriors of Light are finally put to rest. With that being said, we can look forward to ever more adventures and hope that the Warriors of Light may finally rest in peace in this world. But with that being said, that's going to conclude this episode of Cruisenix Purgatory. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed the show. As always, if you're watching this on Twitch or live at PlayStation and you like this show, click the follow button. Be sure to turn on notifications so you're informed of all of my live streams and videos the moment they air. And be sure to subscribe to me for access to exclusive videos and live streams. If you're watching this on YouTube and you like this video, click the like button below and leave a comment. Subscribe to my channel by clicking here. Click here to watch more by me. Click here to watch the next episode, and click here to watch the previous one. Until next time, Cruising Gex, signing out.